Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing great today. Uh, at least I hope so. I'm coming to y'all today. Y'all know how I do things. I always want to show my video first. Today, I am just a little bit upset. I'm going to share it, but I'm not going to play it right now. So today I wanted to talk about Porter. He's a 22-year-old young man. He was shot 38 times by 5 Detroit police officers while he was having a mental health crisis. 38 times. Who shoots somebody 38 times? So my question was it justified shooting somebody 38 times? Or was it just an execution? Cold-blooded execution. Cold-blooded murder. So today, I want to just go through and we're going to sort of listen at the video and y'all let me know what you think. So it's 2 of them that I really wanted to play. And then I want to come back and talk about it. I want to have the conversation. Okay, so I'm going to start the video now. What's going on?
Please have them increase the audio. Sorry, please have them increase the audio.
Great job, please.
Yes. I seen him when we were going to the other right there at the liquor store.
Oh, yeah, y'all need to.
This was like 45 minutes ago. We were on a route.
I mean, but he in this area, so.
Is he just walking around with a knife, or?
Episode.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah.
And his hair's got
yes.
like flat.
Yes. He looked, yeah.
He was in that corner, one of that.
Yeah.
He was
So,
like that.
y'all make sure y'all. Like, he's going kind of like really bad episodes.
Yeah.
Like the DJ.
He had a knife on him.
Yes, yeah. And
So-
What kind of knife?
like he bought from like
Like a pocket knife.
a pocket.
Oh, okay.
Like a pocket.
So if you find him, come here, we'll take it down. You want to take it to the hospital.
They don't find him. I would definitely meet y'all in the hospital. At the hospital, yes.
What would you do?
Y'all go pick me up.
Or do you have a ride?
He just slapped my tire, so that I can go anywhere. So you guys have to pick me up.
All right.
Okay.
Order? Yes.
Order with a P?
Yes. Please put my phone.
Yeah.
Phone down for.
His name is Porter.
Not far. It's 313.
Yep.
767.
The video pauses here so that we don't put out the phone number.
Okay, we'll give you a call if we find him. If he comes back and you haven't heard from us, just give us a call, okay? Yep.
All right, so I want to pause here for 1 second.
Come here real quick. You're okay. You're not in any trouble. You're not in any trouble. You just talk to me, drop a knife. You want to drop a knife? Hey, my man, just come here real quick. You're okay. You're not in any trouble. I just need you to drop a knife, okay? My name is Sean. My name is Sean, okay? I'm with the crisis team. I'm just here to check on you. Okay? You just don't approach back off. My name is Sean, man. You're okay. You're not in any trouble, okay? I just want to help you. I just want to help you, man, okay? Can you do me a favor and drop the knife? Can you drop the knife for me, please? Please? Whatever you're going through, I can help you. Porter, you're not in any trouble, man. We just need you to drop the knife for us, okay?
I'm going to pause it here, and we'll pick back up at that point in a moment. This is
Just drop the knife for us, Porter.
And units coming, do not come from the north end. To do, I need you to start staging medics, split them at Shaper and Linden.
You want to go get some help?
Give me a copy, hold on. We're here to help you, Porter.
Porter. Hey, Porter, what do you need? Hey, Porter, just have a seat right there. Don't walk closer to us, okay? Do not walk closer to us. Hey, Porter, put that knife down.
We're here to help you, Porter, okay? We just want to help you. Your brother's worried about you, and I'm worried about you.
You just dropped the knife? That's why? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Huh? All right, set that down and we'll do that. All you gotta do is set it down and we'll do that. All right? I promise you, you ain't in no trouble. Don't walk towards us.
Walk towards us.
Don't walk towards us.
Don't do that. Don't, Porter, don't do that. Don't do that.
Sit down. Drop the knife. We'll be good.
Just drop the knife, Porter, okay? We're here to help you, man. Whatever you want, we'll get you, okay? Don't walk closer.
Porter. Hey, you want some help? Are you sure? Porter. Okay, hey, can you listen to me? Can you just set that knife down and we'll talk? I promise. Here, we'll put everything away. We just need you to drop the knife. Can I ask why not? Huh? All right, well, we'll give that back to you. We just need to talk, but I can't talk to you close with that knife in your hand. What do you want to do? You want to ride home? You want to ride home? We'll go take you home. Porter. Porter. Someone will want to take that. No.
Porter, we're here to help you, man. Whatever you want, we can help you with. We can get you home. But right now, we just need you to drop the knife. Right now, we just need you to drop the knife.
Porter.
very tragic situation. Certainly, again, not the desired outcome. Again, my condolences to the Burks family. This is not what we wanted. The officers were trying to negotiate with him, and without provocation, he charged the officer with a knife in hand, gaining ground on him very quickly and in fear of their life. He fired their weapons to stop the threat.
Okay.
The information I'm going to share with you is preliminary.
Okay. Now, we've heard from them, but I listened to the attorney, and this attorney, Porter's attorney, had made so much sense. I'm trying to see if I can locate him because just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can locate the attorney. I was really inspired by him. Wait 1 second. Wait a minute.
So if we find him, we come.
Okay, let me see if I can find the attorney. Here he is. Now, this is the attorney who's representing the family. I was listening at him earlier. So I'm going to take it back to the beginning where he's speaking. And before I play this, what the lawyer is saying, wait a minute. Before I play what the attorney is saying, the police did not show everything. They showed what they wanted the public to see, and then they stopped. But the guy was like 2 houses, close to 3 houses away from them. It was a great distance. And they knew he had mental health issues. So here's what the lawyer is saying, and then we'll have a conversation after the attorney speaks.
Kiana Wilson, who is Porter Burks' mom, and she is going to be the personal representative of the estate. Who is Porter Burks' mom. Hi, thanks everybody for coming. Kiana Wilson, who is Porter Burks' mom, and she is going to be the personal representative of the estate in terms of the lawsuit that is going to be filed against the Detroit police officers and the Detroit Police Department as a result of the killing of Porter Burks last Sunday. However, that lawsuit cannot be filed until Kiana is appointed by the probate court. We expect that the probate court will appoint her today. We filed all the necessary documents, and it's just going through the normal processes. So Kiana will be appointed. The rest of the folks here are family members of Porter. I thought it was important that they be here because we have what I consider to be an intolerable situation that occurred in the city of Detroit, in which a clearly mentally ill young man was executed by a Detroit Police Department firing squad of 5 officers, firing reportedly 38 times towards or into his body. I believe he was hit in excess of 15 times, but we are having an autopsy conducted today by Dr. Werner Spitz, and we will have more information concerning the exact number of rounds that entered Porter's body as a result of this execution. I want to start by saying to anybody who's listening, and I hope that Chief White is listening too, that I have more questions today than I have answers, since this only occurred less than 4 full days ago, or about about 4 days ago. All the answers that I'm going to obtain during this investigation process that I go through when I file a lawsuit, all the answers are not present. However, I do have many questions. I would like to say, although I disagree with many of the things Chief White said, I do agree with him in one particular area. And I think that he is correct. And I think that he tried to communicate to you and the public and people of the city of Detroit an essential problem that occurs in this state and many other states. I ran for governor slightly more than 20 years ago. My opponent at that time had been serving as governor, and he was in office for 12 years. And he touted the fact that he had closed virtually all the mental health facilities in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan at that time defunded mental health. There was an absurd belief that you could medicate mentally ill people like Porter, close down the mental health facilities, put the onus on local hospitals and emergency rooms. But what in fact happened is that instead of mental health then being a health issue taken care of by doctors and trained professionals, nurses, psychologists, social workers, instead it has been defaulted to the police and the prisons. And we now house mentally ill people instead of in hospitals, in prisons. And we expect that police and prison officials should appropriately deal with mental health. They're not trained to do so. They're not capable of doing so. And notwithstanding Chief's statements about these highly trained police officers, I've watched the video numerous times and doing what he was trained to do. If the training consists of executing clearly mentally ill young men or women, that training is grossly inadequate, deficient, and nonsensical. So I do agree that it is a crisis. I agree, and I call on all of the officials who can hear my words that the defunding of the mental health facilities in Michigan has to stop. And the requirement that police and prison officials are somehow now in charge of the mentally ill is patently absurd and has to change. It results in hundreds, if not more, deaths, and it certainly is the resulted in Porter Burks' death. Having said that, I totally am at odds with Chief White in terms of his press conference and his statements to the public concerning his descriptions of what happened. First, let me describe, I think, some of the background that the press conference that was conducted by the authorities, the purpose was to provide some propaganda, some cover for what really happened. For instance, there was a gentleman who described previous incidents with Porter Burks involving his family, claiming that he had stabbed his family members. Porter Burks has never been arrested nor charged with any crime. Porter Burks was never seriously injured any of his family members. Did several of his siblings get cut? Yes. But there was a recognition that he was mentally ill and that this was not a intentional or dangerous occurrence, but rather a mental health, a psychotic break. Porter suffered from a disease that's considered familial in nature. In other words, it is understood to be passed down and to exist in families. The disease is known as paranoid schizophrenia. It is a disease of the brain. It affects the dopamine receptors of the brain. It prevents people from thinking and acting rationally in its more extreme senses. It causes people to hallucinate. It causes people to hear voices. And it is a real disease. It is as real as heart disease. It is as real as cancer. It is as real as any other physical disease, and it should be treated as such. The idea that we should treat mental illness with the police and guns is medieval. That's what they used to do in medieval times, chain people up to walls in insane asylums. Well, we have now graduated to executing them with firing squads. He suffered from a real disease which they knew about. That disease often is familial, and indeed there's several family members who suffered from that disease. I believe a grandmother. It often manifests at puberty. Puberty stimulates in some way that disease, and so it is very common for that disease to manifest itself at the beginning of puberty. And in fact, it did manifest itself in Porter Burks when he was 17 years old and going through puberty. Prior to that time, he had had no problems, and he did not and had not operated under a diagnosis. So he had suffered from the disease for about 3 years. Because we don't treat mental illness in this state like we should, we simply keep people like Porter on the margins of society. We provide them with medication. He was taking medication once a month. You used to have to take the pills every day. And the medications are not wonder drugs, but they tend to damper the hallucinations and the paranoid ideations. He was on that, but periodically those medications don't work. And patients who suffer from this disease suffer psychotic breaks. And that's exactly what happened to Porter. He was suffering from a medical psychotic break, just like if somebody was suffering from a heart attack, you wouldn't shoot a man or a woman suffering from a heart attack or in extreme pain from cancer. You don't shoot people who are suffering psychotic breaks from schizophrenia. Now, Chief White then put on what I think was a propaganda show, suggesting, for instance, that the knife that Porter was carrying was not a pocket knife, which is nonsense. It's a foldable knife. The blade is, I believe, 3.5 inches. The total length when opened, Chief White represented as 8 inches, but the blade isn't 8 inches. And this entire regrettable and preventable incident occurred, I guess, beginning about 4 in the morning on Sunday. Porter's brother, DeMarco, called the police. You saw the video, and reported that his brother, who is mentally ill, who suffers from schizophrenia, had a pocket knife, wouldn't give it to the family, and he was alerting the police because that's the only thing you can do in this state. Call the police because they're the people who have to take care of mentally ill people. He reported truthfully things about his brother that should have alerted the police to treat him in an entirely different manner. Now, Chief White, I have real problems with your next descriptions and your I guess, the video show that you played the public. I do not have the videos. My understanding is obviously that there is more than one video because you played at least two during your press conference in which you began from one officer's body cam showing the confrontation and showing the discussion between Porter and that officer, that unidentified officer, and then you switched to another body cam for no apparent reason whatsoever, and then turned off the video. So we, as far as I know, nobody's seen the entire videos. Now, I have to believe, since there were 5 police officers there were 5 body cams. I also have to believe that there are neighbors in the area directly next to what transpired here, who have had their Ring cameras confiscated by the Detroit police. And so I would like Chief White to turn over all of those videos. Contrary to Chief White's assertion, or at least suggesting that this took place or he was shot within 6 feet or 3 feet, that's preposterous, as you can see by the videos. Porter was a tremendous distance away from the police officers when he was executed. Our calculations indicate that it may be as far as 46 feet when they began shooting him. Now, of course, I don't have the remainder of the videos, so I don't know at the point at which they began executing him by firing squad whether they ran up towards him. However, I do have the videos, and the videos also display something else that the chief didn't talk about. The chief claims that Porter was tased prior to being shot. That would be consistent with what we see on the video. My understanding is that certain tasers can shoot up to 35 feet or more. If that's true, what I believe may be displayed on the video, and I would expect all of you can go back into your newsrooms and start playing it, is that when Porter lifts up his arms and begins, almost it appears just as he's being shot, a frantic dance, that he's being tased. So he's being electrocuted, he's being electrified, he's being lit up by police. And then the excuse to shoot him 38 times is that he was approaching the police, which was absurd. He was lifting up his arms and he was then executed with 38 shots. We'll have to take a look at the rest of the video before we can confirm everything that actually happened, and in fact, whether in fact he was tased, although my understanding is from Chief White that he was. Now, Chief White, please explain to me why, when you've got a young 20-year-old mentally ill young man who's saying, I believe on the video, I just want to go home and rest, why you can't figure out a better way to deal with him than executing him by firing squad. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a police professional. I don't claim to be. But if Porter Burks was an animal, a vicious animal, a tiger, a lion, you know how to shoot him with tranquilizing gun. Why would you shoot him with 38 bullets? Why would you treat him worse than a wild animal? Why would you do that? You have all sorts of equipment. You said you turned off all the vehicles. If you were afraid of a 3-inch knife, roll up the windows to your vehicle and drive up to him. Bring one of those armored vehicles that you use for bomb disposal. They can't be hurt by a 3-inch knife. How about all that body armor? All that body armor that police have. They have helmets, they have arm and chest armor, they have bulletproof vests everywhere. Are you telling me that today you don't have sufficient equipment to send an officer towards somebody with a 3-inch knife, and instead you have to execute him beginning at 45 feet? That's patently absurd. And if anybody believes that it's reasonable to shoot under these circumstances 5 officers 38 times when there are a myriad of alternatives that could have been used to peacefully end this situation, then I have trouble understanding that logic. That's what we've devolved into, that it's acceptable to execute mentally ill people. Chief, you didn't go on and say that you dumped Porter's body at the Sinai Grace Hospital. You shot him dead 38 times or less if all your officers' guns didn't hit their intended target. And then you handcuffed him. Tell me about that. Tell me about that, Chief. Tell me about who handcuffed a dead body, shot 38 times. And tell me who took Porter to the Sinai Grace Hospital and dumped him off there and didn't tell the the medical doctors at Sinai Grace what had happened to Porter. Just left him there with his father and other family members. The doctors had no idea what had happened to Porter. They didn't know who had shot him. Nobody told them. Explain that, Chief. I think there's a lot of other things that need explaining in this case. That's why I have more questions than I do answers. But again, this is the inevitable result of the defunding of mental health in this state, the turning over of authority over mentally ill people to the police and the prisons, a police force that is, and I'm not saying that the chief people acted much differently than any other police force because they were totally inadequately trained to deal with mentally ill people. This should never, ever have happened. The law looks at these things and says, what could we do? Well, some of the reasons for hiring me is to effect changes, not just to get money from a police department of the state of Michigan, although you defunded the police, now you've got to pay, or you defunded the mental health authorities, now you've got to pay for what the police have done. But the reason for hiring me and to bring a lawsuit is to effectuate change, to make things different so this doesn't happen again. This shouldn't happen again. And to make sure that the truth comes out, to make sure that this isn't glossed over, to make sure that there are answers. Because out of this tragedy can come change and can come a realization of maybe in this society we're unable to do that, but we could hope for the better. And that's why this lawsuit is taking place. So if there's any cynical people out there who say this family hired Jeff Feiger for money, that's total and complete nonsense. Although that's all I can sue for, money, damages, because that's the way our legal system works. I want answers. I want answers in this case. I'm not in it. And this family isn't in it for money. They can't bring him back. They want answers. And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of other Porters out there who this shouldn't happen to ever. And if what we do in this case can end the possibility that others would be executed like him, that'll be sufficient for. So
All right, so I'm going to end that video right there. I love that attorney. I thought he was very powerful. Thank y'all for coming in. If you want to come up, I dropped the link. I definitely appreciate you coming in. So what I wanted to do is go over how I felt. I felt that he was executed. From the video, he was like at least 2 houses away from the police. If you are that afraid of people, get off the police force. A taser could have taken him down. They said they used a taser. I didn't see nobody say nothing about a taser. I did see them trying to get him to drop the knife. And like he said, the knife wasn't but 3 inches, so I guess it's one of them little pocket knives. And the guy didn't want to do it, but then you got to understand that the guy got mental health issues. And the police knew that because it's on record. And so after digging more, and then I listened to the mother, she was saying if you got mental health people in your family, she hates they call the police. Sometimes the police are not equipped. They are equipped. They're not qualified. Let me change that. They're not qualified to handle the mental illness that are in our society. Because they could have put on, I have to agree with the attorney when he say they could have put on the body. What's them shields they have? When people ride, they put them shields up. They could have used that to make sure nobody got hurt with the knife. But he wasn't even that close on them for them to execute him and shoot him 38 times. I was like, my God, is that target practice? What is this? Is when I see stuff like that, the first thing I think we got a lot of wrong apples. You got bad apples in everybody's profession, but you got a lot of bad apples in our police department. We got great police officers, but we got some bad apples in the police department that needs to be terminated. They do not need to be retrained, as they say. There is no training for them. To me, you cold-blooded killer. You executed this man. You didn't have any remorse. It was ruthless. So if you don't have remorse, you don't have empathy. You didn't have compassion for the person that was out here that you were sworn to protect and serve. That's not what you called to do. If you're afraid of people, you're not called. And that's why I did a video, and I challenge everybody to go listen at that one where I was talking about 47 deputies, sheriffs, were put on leave. They were stripped of their weapons. They were stripped of all police duties or sheriff duties, and they sent them home because they failed the psych exam. They scored a D. That's like failing. And I say, well, if this one department or one city did this, all our cities need to do it. Because I believe that we got a lot of police officers. You got to have some type of mental illness yourself when you're out here execute. You murdered this guy. He was 22 years old. To me, it was murder. You didn't try. He had a knife. You got a gun. Uh, there is a big difference. I don't see where you was. He was 3 houses down, 2 to 3 houses down. How was you in fear for your life? It ain't like he was running at you because you got a taser. Why not tase him? If 2 people would have tased him, you'd have took him down that way. You didn't have to shoot him. You grabbed your gun. So I went back and I wanted to look at some statistics. And what I found out is that when it comes to mental health calls in the Detroit area, I didn't look at other areas, so I was sort of focusing on Detroit since this is where this happened. They have had 18,033 mental health calls. Last year, they had 21,315. Out of those that was armed with a weapon, this year was 1,142. Last year, 1,274 out of all the calls in Detroit that were people called the police that the person had mental health issues, whether they were schizophrenic or what other type of mental health crisis that they were going through. So I went and did some more digging, and then I found out this is what really got me upset with this story, and I wanted to talk about it. 25% of calls that go in are probably people with some type of mental health issue. And that's according to the Washington Post database on police shooting. So then I went farther, and there is a CIT training that the Detroit, it is in here what the Detroit has said that 100% of their officers would do this CIT training. This is a training that is done for awareness of mental illness. They swore to make all their officers go through the training, which is a 40-hour training, and they are taught how to increase empathy. So when I read that, I'm like, my God, did you say they taught, you are teaching people how to increase empathy? How can I teach you how to empathize with me? Either you got it or you don't. Either it's in your heart or it's not. It's nothing you can be trained. I can't be trained to love you. Either I love you or I don't. That didn't, when I read that, I'm like, you are training them to increase empathy. I'm training you how to care about the people that you sworn to protect and serve. You train them how to use different techniques to de-escalate the situation. So if you're using all this, especially for people with schizophrenic, this is what this young man had. Did everybody fail the class? Because you got 5 officers out here shooting him. Or did you tell them, well, if you get a little scared, everybody just pull their weapons and shoot this man 38 times? You didn't want to stop at 6 rounds. You couldn't stop at 2. 2 would have took the brother down. You gonna shoot him 38. So what was the purpose of the training? Because it looks like to me everybody should have failed. Well, these 5 officers definitely failed. The training was, if this is what training is, and you're going through it and you still don't know how to do your job, number one, you don't need to be on the job. Number two, you need to bring in some real mental health professionals that are qualified to handle these type of situations because the police is not qualified. So bring in mental health professionals. So instead of hiring more police officers, I don't like that when they be saying defund the police. I think what they should be saying is, no, we need police officers, but we also need mental health professionals to come in and go along with the situations that involve somebody having a mental health crisis. Bring on these people that are qualified to go and help these people. Because you as a police officer, you stand to the side because you're not qualified. All you want to do is shoot and kill. And if that's what you're trying to do, then we don't need you handling the public. I want to know, what is your, would you have failed? I want to know, anytime that somebody shoots somebody, I feel like they need to take a psychological exam themselves, because I want to know where your head is at mentally. So if 47 deputies came out with a D on the psychological exam, how many other police officers did you put on the force because you like them, or they your neighbor's friend, or your cousin's friend, or whoever, but they're not really qualified to serve the public because they're failing the psych exam. So I'm quite sure if one county had 47 officers that they had to relieve of their duties because they failed the psychological exam, how many more officers out here in all these departments over the United States would fail? Everybody needs to take a psychological exam to see, are you qualified to be a police officer? Especially if you shoot somebody. Because there is no way they can justify 38 bullets. If you gotta justify each one of them bullets that you shot, if you're that afraid, I was like the attorney, get in your car, roll the window up. If you that scared, I just didn't understand 38. That's a lot of bullets. Go back to the war and fight and just kill up people. But not out here on that citizen street where you're dealing with the public. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but when I said that, when I especially read that the police officers are required to take 40 hours, is not a lot of time. That's like one 8-hour job for a whole week. CIT, we're gonna teach you this. So everything that you taught them must have went through one ear and out the other. Because I didn't see any of that what you taught them exhibit in this situation. What I saw is that you did try to talk him down, but since that didn't work, I'm gonna just shoot. That's what I saw. They said despite being on the front line, some police officers do not have the training to recognize nor respond to mental health crisis. And so to me, these 5 officers, one of them did that was talking. And then from my knowledge, it was 5 officers, but then they say one officer did not shoot him. So I'm wondering, the officer that was talking to him, was that the one that did not shoot? Because he knew the guy was having an episode of crisis. Was he the one that did not shoot? And then the other 4 officers was like, well, we just gonna have a field day. And then you're gonna take him to the hospital and dump him on the hospital porch and say, oh, we ain't did this. He just got shot out in the streets. We don't know who did it. And I didn't understand that at all. But what I also found out is that more than 42 million Americans, adults, are affected by mental illness every year. 2 million will be in jail. That's the statistics. People experiencing a mental health crisis are likely to encounter police than a medical professional. People living with mental illness are 16 times more likely to die at the hands of the encounter with a police officer compared to the general public. 2017, one in four people that are killed by police, one of them has a mental health issue. Those are the statistics. So out of four people that the police killed, one of them got a mental health issue. It's the other three they just shoot because they can. Some of them may deserve it, but I don't believe, well, I see now everybody does not. This could have been avoided. They got the shields. Don't they keep the shield in their trunk? If you was that afraid, why did they get the shield out your trunk? And out of four police officers, y'all, and all he had was a knife. They couldn't use the shield to knock the knife out his hand because the brother said he had a shield. He didn't have a gun. This came from the mental health first aid for public safety. Has reached nearly 100,000 police officers worldwide. So I guess they have taken the mental health first aid for public safety course. But especially last year, well, this was 180 police chiefs, all members of the Michigan Chiefs of Police Association, pledged to train 100% of their officers in mental health first aid by committing to the One Mind campaign. And this is to de-escalate situations with mental health and also mental illness, people with substance abuse disorders, how to deal with people that got substance problems as well as mental health issues. So basically, the training that they are giving them, they're still not qualified, and it's not a lot of training. I mean, it's just not a lot of training. I feel like they need to bring those psychiatrists and psychologists, social workers, especially when they notice a mental health problem. I know it's a mental health call, then they need to have something set up for mental health to come in instead of the police officer trying to deal with that person. And hopefully we can save more lives. So, what are y'all thoughts? Tell me what you feel about it. I hope this will help some people with family members that are dealing with the mental health. If you know somebody, get them help. Make sure they take their medication because you don't want them to encounter the police, especially knowing that a lot of police officers are not qualified to deal with people with mental illness. And it is estimated that 2.4 million Americans probably are schizophrenic. It's stated that men tend to find out early in their teens to their 20s that they're schizophrenic, and women in their 20s and early 30s. So we find out that they got a mental And hopefully we will see some changes. I do believe that we do need change in the police department, especially when it comes to mental health. And so instead of hiring more police, why not hire and bring in mental health professionals to help people with mental health issues, especially when one in four calls or when you got so many calls coming in for crisis, like the mental health counseling. That's what they went to school for. They got more than 40 hours of training. You can believe that because most of them got master's and doctoral degrees. So you definitely had more than 40 hours of training, which makes you more qualified. So I'm going to end this today. I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you think it was execution? Do you think it was justified 38 times? Or do you think it was an execution? Have a good night, and I'll talk with you soon. Enjoy your